Okay, welcome to Tales from a Disappearing City. I'm here with Ian St. Paul today. How you doing, Ian?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Yeah, you come over here today, all the way from lovely Gypsy Hill. I know you just moved into. Yeah,
Yeah.
But that's not too far from where you originally grew up, was it? That sort of area. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about,
Well, I was born in Hammersmith in
Yeah.
'64, and when I was about 5, we moved to Carshalton. Well, we moved to Wallington to Roundshaw Estate. It was a brand new council estate built on the old Croydon Airport. So I lived there until I went to high school, and then went to Carshalton. I went to Carshalton Boys, and for the first couple of years, didn't quite finish it.
No, but you at least attended a little bit.
Yeah, I attended the first two
Yeah.
years.
So what's your early sort of music memories? Either hearing it or like just like sort of tunes that you like. I don't know if you bought records when you were a kid or stuff like that.
Yeah, the first record I bought, actually, I didn't buy it. I was running for a bus, and somebody had obviously left a diamond record bag inside the phone box at the 157 stop in Croydon, West Croydon.
Yeah.
And it had 6 million steps, and Take That to the Bank.
Oh, cool.
12-inch import. So
Right.
those were my first two sort of soul records.
Okay. Well, is that a lucky thing that it could have been like?
Well, that was the beginning of my collection.
Because those are two cool tunes, if you like.
Yeah, I think I bought Odyssey, Native New Yorker next, and worked my way up.
Yeah.
Along, and my friends all giving me records as well. They all worked in the industry.
Yeah. So what sort of age was that?
Oh, that was early, 13.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that was 70s, 78, 79.
All right. So were you listening to other music, or was it mostly just the sort of the soul and the funk?
At that time, around 75, 76, when I was first year at high school, we started going to the local disco in Carshalton. And there was like the Rose Hill Soul Patrol, the Mitcham Funk Department, MFD, and all these like little crews, soul departments. And I was just a young kid. But my cousin, he was from Mitcham. He was a bit of a ringleader from that side. And then my sister and her friends, they used to go. They were 3 years older.
When you said it was a little cruise, though, can you just tell us about that? Like, did they have a certain style, the different crews, or was it just they called themselves because they were all from a little same area or stuff like that? Or like,
yeah, they were they were a bit older than me, so they were like 3 years older than me, and they were really into doing like Merton Hall, places like that, where they would have these mobile discos on Friday and Saturday night. And it'd be like the bump and disco music, and then the soul and funk would be coming in. I remember it coming in, and then also you have that sort of spot in the middle where it goes all quiet, and you got the love song, and you got
it's all right if you got someone
bit. Yeah, run.
Maybe when you're 13, 14 or 15, that's the bit you're like, oh no.
You're scared to ask the girls.
No, exactly.
You want to kiss.
Yeah.
The girl you're in love with that breaks your heart.
Yeah.
And you can't get you just can't get the guts to.
All right.
To
So there wasn't too much slow dancing then.
No, it was pretty much empty. The mirror ball would come on.
Yeah.
There'd be like the Citronic mobile disco.
Right.
With the light boxes.
Yeah.
On each side on the stage.
Yeah.
And the mirror ball. The spot.
The all-in-one decks and all that.
The all-in-one, all packed into one big box.
Do you know what? I still occasionally, if I'm doing some crazy sort of party, I have turned up. I know the last couple of years, and some venue they pulled out one of them. Like, oh, this is what you need, isn't it? And
but there's no varied speed.
Well, no, exactly. Yeah, there's no blending your tunes, is there? No,
there's no mixer like that.
Well, no. Yeah. I mean that is, that's the old school. I mean, I guess that's the era of people getting on the mic and shouting out.
Exactly.
Personality, disc jockey, and all that.
Tony Blackburn style.
Yeah.
This is like Chic and Taste of Honey.
Yeah. All right. So yeah.
So I'd done that, and that was my introduction into
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
And it was like, the whole sort of people going out, you know, there was an excitement about it. There was a lot of fighting, you know. These crews used to fight at the end of the night.
Yeah.
I didn't know what about, but I guess it's always about girls at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, some black kids from Tooting trying to chat up some white girls from Rose Hill, and they don't like it, and, you know, names are thrown around, and the next minute... I don't think there was ever a night without it, and that's why it got shut down eventually, Carl Shorten Public Hall. But it was my introduction into music, into going out. From there was two sides, really. There was the local side that we, as kids, you know, we wanted more, obviously, when it got shut down and we were growing up. So there was Scamps in Sutton, and then on a Tuesday night. And then there was Scamps in Croydon, and that was on a Wednesday night. And then there was Dr. Jim's on a Sunday, and before that there was Pearly Tiffany's on a Sunday till 11 o'clock. And then we'd get on the bus to Croydon and get the last hour at Dr. Jim's till 1 o'clock. That was on a Sunday. And again, it was all mixed bag, really, you know, from... at that early time, it was stuff like Light of the World, Enzyme, Chris Hill's label. Yeah. And then you'd go upstairs and you'd have a reggae room. So there'd be like Mind Blowing Decisions, the extended reggae version, which would cut into a reggae version halfway through. Yeah. You know, all that kind of... that was, you know, music was changing, but we didn't know much at that point. But it was, soul and funk. Earth, Wind and Fire, they were massive. Yeah. You know, their hits were the hits. September and stuff like that, you know.
Well, I mean, old school Earth, Wind and Fire is just like incredible. Yeah. I mean, they're such a band, you know what I mean?
Yeah, those I think were the hits. And, and McFadden and Whitehead, Ain't No Stopping Us Now, and Jingo, and songs like that. You know, the all dayers we do Human Pyramids and stuff like that. It was crazy.
Do you want to explain for the younger crew what a human pyramid was?
Human pyramids, like when you have 5 people, and then 4 people would be on the shoulders, and then 3 and 2 until you get to.
Who was on the top then? Like
somebody small.
I was going to say, it's not like the large guy on the top, is it? No.
No.
All right.
So the large guy's at the bottom.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, maybe a girl would be at the top.
I was going to say it should be like
Yeah.
Fairy on top of the tree.
All that kind of carry on.
Yeah.
And then we started going to all weekenders and all dayers and weekenders. And that really got the spirit up, you know. We started travelling across London and going to places in Ilford, Lacy Ladies, and Colin Hudd used to do a club over in
what was the Lacy Lady like? Because that's the place I've heard loads about. But
the gold mine.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah, I've heard about the gold mine and the Lacy Lady. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were they like then? Sort of spots?
Soul clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, regular kind of soul clubs. Don't forget, we had 2 o'clock was a license back in those days on a weekend.
Yeah.
So it was the same as like the Bally High or any of these like discotheques where you know the guy in the black suit and the bow tie on the door and the mirror ball and the velvet curtains. And
I know some of the early punk people, like I'm talking like 76 and all that, maybe, but they used to go like Lacy Lady and stuff like that. The stories about them did you ever notice anything like that, or was that just something totally separate? Or
no, I mean I went to a few punk gigs and they were at the George in Croydon, and I mean the Clash played there.
Yeah.
I think it was 76, 79 maybe.
Yeah.
Clash played. I remember I was at the back of the crowd, right at the back. I don't know how I got in, but I got in. And they sung their last tune and they went off stage and everyone started leaving the George. And it was literally the last sort of few hundred people at the back door, and they came back on stage with White Riot.
Oh my God, yeah.
And it fucking went mad.
Do you know what? That can be dangerous.
Yeah, it was dangerous.
It
was dangerous, but it was punk.
Yeah.
That was punk.
Yeah.
You know, that was what it was all about. It was lunacy. It's
Yeah.
crazy. But we were all young, you know.
Yeah.
You fall down, you bounce back up.
Oh,
You know,
sure.
we weren't old, we weren't
No.
fragile.
No.
You know, people were drunk. So more alcohol, you don't feel anything, you know.
Do you remember some of the fashion from that time, the clothes and all that?
Yeah, for us, punk was punk, but for us it was like...
I mean, like the soul boy sort of look.
Yeah, you know,
like,
we had wedge shoes
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like loafers with
Yeah,
the little
yeah.
tassels.
Mm.
We had Farrahs.
Yeah.
We had Gabici tops or Shetland wool jumpers. You know, we had side partings and gold chains. And that kind of that was the look. It was the soul boy look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, when I was about 14, I was obsessed with getting Farrahs. You know what I mean? And like I was like one parent family on like school meals, and like I couldn't afford the Farrahs, and all the cool kids had Farrahs, and I was so jealous.
Well,
and
you got your Farrahs at the market, Sutton Market.
Yeah.
But Gabicis were really expensive,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
they
yeah.
had like knockoffs.
Yeah.
So you get your knockoff down at the market as well, and your Shetland wool jumper.
So was there knockoff Gabicis? Was there? Like,
Yeah, well, they weren't Gabicis, obviously.
Yeah.
There was something else.
Yeah.
But they had
Tabici.
that look. Yeah.
Yeah, I love a Gabici. I've got a decent collection of Gabici next door, and like you know, I think like in later life I've sort of obsessed with clothes that probably I couldn't afford when I was 14, 15 when I wanted to wear that shit.
So yeah, moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on from that, I still hadn't actually put on a night.
Yeah.
Basically, my group, I was surrounded by all my friends. They weren't my school friends. You know, I wasn't one of these people that got together with my schoolmates on Friday and Saturday nights and went to pubs in the area and like, you know, chatted up the local girls and whatever. I didn't do that. I was, Friday night came, I was up in London or I was out at one of these clubs, and I was generally with people at least 3 years older than me. So I missed out on my kind of youth, if you like, but then I had their youth, you know. I was busy with a different scene.
I will say, at that age, if someone's 2 or 3 years older than you, that's massive amount, isn't it?
I was really impressed.
Then they might as well just be 30 or 40 or something like that.
I was totally enthralled by the whole thing, and you know, I was lucky. I felt I was very lucky to be going to these places. And the reason why I got to go to these places because my family and my friends were all connected to music. Yeah, so the older kids, they had cars as well. So I got to go to places that my friends never got to. And because my parents were divorced, I didn't have anybody telling me I had to be home at night. In fact, I didn't even go to school. My last 2 years of high school, my first year when I was about to start with my options, my exams, which were geography, English literature and humanities. My mum and dad divorced. My mum moved in with her boyfriend, took my little brothers, and my big sister and my big brother, they were already working abroad for travel companies. So the family house was empty.
Wow.
And so my cousin and his mates and my mates, they all just moved in, and we had the Citronic decks there, and we had parties pretty much every night, and I didn't even look back. I didn't even go. So we'd be partying and living in each other's pockets, and people would be going to work and coming back, and we're going to parties and coming back, and it became a bit of a doss house.
That's kind of living the dream at that age, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. We didn't know it then.
Yeah.
But we didn't have.
Well, you
anybody.
must have been the house to go to, because obviously it'd be like, well, let's go around Ian's because we can do what the fuck we want. And he's got decks and it's party house.
Well, they weren't my decks; they were Trevor's decks. And do
you want to say who your cousin was?
Yeah, Trevor Fung. Yeah. And Trevor was a big inspiration in my early days. I used to go out a lot with Trevor. He used to take me with him. I used to carry his record boxes, and we used to go to clubs. Not just the soul clubs. We'd go to the Embassy, the Blitz, places like Monkberry's, and not every week, just occasionally. But I got to see all those amazing places, and the whole Covent Garden scene, Rumours. I worked there as a busboy, and I came back to work there as a cocktail barman many years later. But Trevor was connected, and him and Pete Tong were the two young mafia jocks. When I say mafia jocks, it's the whole Chris Hill, Robbie Vincent.
Do you want to just explain what that was? Because I know like we have some people watch this that might not know what the Soul Mafia was.
The Soul Mafia was a group of guys. Froggy had a sound system, and there was Chris Hill, Robbie Vincent, Jeff Young, Chris Brown, Pete Tong, and Trevor, and they would go round to different clubs and do all-dayers and weekenders, and Froggy would set up his sound system, and that's what it was. And like Robbie Vincent played on Radio London, Greg Edwards played on Capital Saturday night, and Chris Hill ran Enzyme Records. So he had all the new bands, like Light of the World and Eddie Grant, and they were massive tracks. You know, when they came on stage and played live, Light of the World and Eddie Grant, it was like, you know. I
mean, and they were called the Soul Mafia, but they kind of were really, because they sort of had it locked. They had that little they had that scene, maybe not little scene. They had that scene locked up, didn't they? Like
when they came on and they done Amigo.
Yeah.
I mean, that song, Amigo, and they would be on stage, everybody would be singing it. And then when Chris Hill played, he'd keep his bangers right till the end, and it would be like McFadden and Whitehead.
Yeah.
And it would be some extended mix that he'd done, or
that's one of them songs like that reminds me just South London early 80s whenever I hear that song.
And it reminds me of Keister All Day, because it would be "Ain't no stopping us now," and Chris is on the mic and he's singing along. Yeah. He's got his leopard skin, Rod Stewart jacket on and his quiff. Yeah. And he's up on stage and he's the ultimate showman.
Yeah.
He was fantastic. And
I mean, that's old school DJ, isn't it? Because it wasn't really about the mixing. Well, it was get on the mic, personality, and like shout out to the crowd and like.
Well, what happened was Chris Hill would be on stage singing. He had somebody doing the mixing for him.
Oh, I didn't even realise
He had somebody.
Oh, okay.
He would choose the tracks.
Okay.
Yeah, but I believe he had somebody behind.
Okay.
Like putting them on and queuing them up for him.
Right.
So I mean, they got as close to queuing up back to back as they could, without varied speed and mixing.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about Crackers as well, because that's a club that really intrigues me. Because that was on a Friday lunchtime, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was two clubs. There was Crackers on a Friday with Paul Murphy and George Powell, and that was at Billy's in Dean Street. And so I wasn't going to school anyway.
Yeah.
My mum had gone, and we would, I was just hanging out with my mates. So Friday afternoon we'd get down there, and it would be a lot of the crew from Streatham, Thornton Heath, Johnny Bryant, and all these amazing jazz dancers, and my friend Alex, his sisters, the Gibson sisters, and these were amazing. We would just sort of like, they create a circle, and these people would dance in the middle of them, and they would battle basically, and it would be a certain sort of two people gliding together, like ice skating.
Well, it's incredible, that jazz dancing.
Yeah, it was incredible, and we would just be like, in awe and just like gobsmacked and just standing there watching on the sidelines, and eventually, getting the courage to dance.
Well, it's like if you go to a Northern Soul Club and like obviously if you can't do the splits and like do all these spins and drop, you feel a bit like I'll just there and I'll shuffle. I'll do be cool dancing, but I'm not like in the. You don't dare go in the centre, shall we say?
No, there was all these cool guys dancing, and I remember sort of just watching, scared, and then one, my first step would I'd go in and I'd be like wriggling my right leg and just spinning on my right leg, and then I'll be doing that all night, and it was just. It was hard to compete. That was the beginning.
Yeah.
If I think about that compared to.
So that was at Billy's.
That was
at Billy's. It wasn't in Wardour Street, or was that?
It was in Wardour Street.
Oh, it was in
Billy's.
Yeah,
it was in
yeah.
Billy's.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That was every Friday, and then every Saturday we went down to the 100 Club. Robbie Vincent used to play. Same time, 12 till 4 or 5. So we'd go down there. A lot of my mates never went because they didn't have any money. But as I said, I used to have a really good Saturday job. I worked in a bakery from 12 Friday night till 12 Saturday morning.
It's just with crackers, it was just more the thing of it being like on a Friday lunchtime. Obviously, it's such a random time for clubs. So, like, I know people said they get off school, or even like if you had a job, you'd almost go for like a 2-3 hour lunch hour, and then but you could go to a club in the just on the corner of Wardour Street and Oxford Street.
Yeah, I don't know if that was the thing at the time. These sort of afternoon clubs, but there was two of them.
Was it busy?
It was rammed.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it was, you'd come out of there dripping wet.
Yeah. So what time did it finish? Was it like 3 or 4?
4.
Yeah. Okay.
5.
Wow.
4:30. 5.
Yeah.
We'd come out and everybody would be doing their shopping.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Wow.
It was surreal.
Yeah,
it was really
no.
crazy.
It's just it's one of them places of like
I just had my head in the speaker for the last 4 hours, and I'm like, and it's like everybody's normal.
I guess the only place I know like that, I used to go to a place called Spats, which was on Oxford Street as well in 83, 84, and that was like Saturday afternoon, and that was like Westwood was doing it, and that was because I was into hip hop and electro, but that was more like if you're 14, 15, we'd go up to Groove Records, buy a couple of records if that's all we could afford, maybe check out the break dancers in Covent Garden, and then go to Spats on Oxford Street.
Yeah.
And that was a Saturday afternoon. But, it was for all the kids, and it was, and like I said, Westwood when he was cool. Yeah.
I grew up with all that.
Yeah.
I grew up with that scene right up till 1980. From the 70s to 1980. And I missed out on my first year of school and my exam years. That's the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And then my mother found out at the same time she wanted to move back in the house. And the house was, at that point, we had my new friend, Paul Oakenfold, who was Trevor's friend, and Trevor was his mentor. He was learning to DJ and like going to places with Trevor. Carl Cox just lived up the road at Rose Hill, and Ray Locke, and it was just Mark Lewis. There was a whole crowd of us that used to hang out at my place. And then in 1980, my mum wanted the house back, and she didn't want a crazy teenager. No,
I'm not surprised. Surprised there was much of a house left, to be honest.
There was. And even though I was 15,
yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't send your kid to New York on his own at the age of 15. I've asked many mothers that question.
No.
And they wouldn't. No. Their kids stay with them until they're 19 and 20 these days.
Yeah.
And I went off to live in New York.
So tell me how that actually happened. What, your mum sent you to New York, or like?
Well, my mum asked me if I wanted to go to New York because she wanted to come back to the house, and the idea kind of came to us, and we start talking about it. We, as in me, Paul, and Trevor.
Yeah.
And then we decide, listen, let's go to New York. Paradise Garage.
Yeah.
All these places. Tony Humphries. Down in New Jersey, he's got his club down there, and the Mud Club, and everything that's going on over there. Let's go, and we'll go and buy records. And so we planned, but at the last minute Trevor didn't go, and Paul was Trevor's friend. He wasn't really my friend. He was Trevor's friend.
So what year was this again?
This was in 1980.
Yeah. Wow.
And me and Paul were acquainted. We used to go out to the same places together, but he really wasn't my mate. But Paul was absolutely like, his heart was set. He's going to New York. Paul was a chef working at the Naval and Military Club in Piccadilly, private military gentlemen's club for officers and gentlemen. And he wanted to be a DJ. He always wanted to be a DJ. So there was nothing going to stop Paul Oakenfold coming with me to New York. So Trevor dropped out, and me and Paul went on our own.
Right.
We flew. I was 15, he was 17.
So where did he live? What was the deal?
We stayed with my cousin. We shared a room. We had 2 single mattresses on the floor, and my cousins, we paid her rent.
Yeah.
My dad got us a job working, cash in hand, in the mailroom for Morgan Stanley,
Yeah.
60th and 5th Avenue in the
Yeah.
Exxon building.
Okay.
And basically, a few days after we arrived, we started going to work. We started work at 12 in the afternoon and worked till 8. It was perfect.
You could. I mean, again, I lived in New York towards the end of the 80s, and I got cash land work then. You could do that then. I think like in the 90s they brought in all these massive fines for doing that, but again, I got a job within a few days. It was like American dream going there. And
my old man was the accountant, worked for Morgan Stanley.
Okay.
So the mail room was run by a small company, an independent.
Sure.
And I think they were turning over staff quite a lot, So it was nothing to do with Morgan Stanley. It was just they used them. My dad must have been friends with one of the guys there, but the fact that we started at 12 and finished at 8 meant that we could go home, right? Because we're in Manhattan, and Manhattan's the only place in New York with the A line, and the A line is 24 hours, and it goes right to the top, right to the bottom.
Yeah, Coney Island or whatever. Yeah.
So
just like the Warriors.
Well, that was when we were there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Warriors and Cruising.
Yeah.
Were two massive movies.
I love Cruising.
Greenwich Village.
Yes.
I would shit myself.
Yeah.
I would get off at Greenwich Village to get across to Union Square.
Yeah.
And downtown to the Mud Club, and I had to walk through there, and there would be this huge guys, leather jackets, handlebar moustaches, chains, and chaps, and they were massive. They could just grab me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be able to do anything. And. The Warriors, that was going on at the same time. Yeah. That whole gang thing. Yeah. I remember going down to Coney Island and taking pictures of all the graffiti and on the beach.
Yeah, and all the funfair that's down there.
Yeah.
That basically whenever I go down to Coney Island, I think I'm in an episode of Scooby Doo.
Well, I think it was all shut down in the 80s. I think there'd been a fire or something.
Well, it was all closed down, but it was all the Big Dipper and all the silhouette.
Yeah. They had the roller coasters and everything.
And I think it has the look of like I said, I think in Scooby Doo they have it as like whenever they go to creepy fun fair, it's like it looks like Coney Island. So I always thought it was in Scooby Doo whenever I was in Coney Island. It's got this look of old school. Yeah, I don't know, just Americana.
It is.
And they got all like the little freak show signs and all that sort of stuff.
Anyway, I think it got shut down for something. Either something broke or there was a fire. Yeah. But we still got to see it as a place where the Warriors was filmed. The same graffiti that was in the film was there. And we walked around the beach. It wasn't very nice. It wasn't very clean. The beach and the water wasn't very nice. It wasn't exactly. It may have been in the 60s or whatever. Yeah. But it wasn't being taken care of in the 80s.
Well, New York was still grimy then, wasn't it? Like, it hadn't been cleaned up like it has now.
Yeah, and people had money. They could go to Miami,
exactly.
Easy. Exactly. Jump on a plane.
They didn't want to go Coney Island,
No, they've moved on. Yeah. Saying that, Long Island was still really nice. Yeah.
The suburbs has always had money, or like the bits around. Like,
there was some nice beaches.
But Manhattan used to be particularly run down, and obviously now Manhattan's really cleaned up.
Yeah, it was at the end of that whole industrial age. Yeah, anyway, the docks and.
Which bit were you living in Manhattan? What
I lived in 191st Street.
Okay, all right.
Which was on the east side.
Yeah.
So it was.
That's right up. Yeah.
It was right up, but it was parallel to Washington Bridge.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, on the west side, and I was in the Puerto Rican neighbourhood, and that's where my aunt and my uncle lived, and. Yeah. She worked in a bakery, and he worked as a super in an apartment building, and my cousin Shirley, she was married to a policeman, and they had an apartment opposite, and we rented a room off of her. So we'd leave work at 8, get home, watch Love Boat for an hour.
Well, that's important.
Yeah, have a bit of food.
Yeah.
And then we go to sleep.
Right.
And then at midnight we'd wake up, get ready, and then we'd go down to the train station and go out.
Yeah.
Paul didn't do that every night. I did it every night pretty much. And I went to Mud Club every night and all around Soho because that's what really sort of interested me. But Saturday night, and Friday night, Paul would definitely be out, but he was busy.
Well, I mean, it's
things.
a bit different than South London and Carshalton, isn't it? Like the clubs, places stay open longer. Like you said, like and then it was like 2:00 was the latest you staying out at the weekend in London. But obviously in New York, you ain't really got. It was 24-hour city, wasn't it?
I'd turn up. I'd go out on my own.
Yeah.
Paul didn't want to go out. He only really wanted to go to these more established places, and he was getting to know people in the industry, so he was getting invited. And first of all, I was 15.
Yeah.
So, as you know, 21. You have to be 21 to drink, all the drinks anyway, and to get into places. And that was the way it was back then. You needed an ID. So the first thing I'd done was went down to 42nd Street to a print shop. And I bought, I got a couple of business cards, put them, with the print side in the middle, so they were blank on each side. And I got some magic letters. And I made a Melody Maker press pass with my picture and my date of birth. And I got it laminated.
Yeah.
And that press pass got me into every club, every concert in New York for 3 years.
How good were you? How good were you? Like, no offence, but I could sort of imagine it as just some like crappy.
Who's seen one?
Well, I know, but no offence, but I'd have thought you got some bloody letters stuck on. I'd be like, all right, mate, jog on. Like, they fell for that?
No, you know why? Because I spoke English.
No.
And English, it was all Tears for Fears and Boy, and everything was coming from England. That whole new romantic.
Well, you must have freaked him out a little bit, because I know, like, black friends of mine, when they go to America, they can't believe, like, a black person with an English accent.
I had a rockabilly haircut. I had suede blue winkle picker boots, and I had boulevard silk suits on with like Nero collars, really, really like tasty gear on. So I looked $1 million anyway.
Well, do you know what?
I'd turn up with this press pass. And
that probably helped. That definitely helped.
Do you know what they'd do? They'd say, "Oh, he's English. He's got to get in. Bring him to the front. You know what I mean? He's from London. And
exactly.
And everyone that worked in the club scene and the promotions and the A&R were gay.
Yeah.
Everyone that worked in the disco, in the records and the soul and the funk and all these record companies like Prelude. Lauren Sade and the guy Clive Davis at Warner Brothers, they were all young, budding A&R guys. They were all gay, and they all went to the Paradise Garage amongst other clubs, and these were the people that Paul was meeting. I was hanging out, getting records off of all of them, but I didn't really keep them. I gave them to Paul. I'd go out and spend a day at these record companies getting all their new promos. But I'd give them to Paul. And I'd spend days in record shops down in Manhattan, down in Broadway, picking up like Benny Goldberg, Killer Joe and Nina Simone, just old deleted white labels.
First time when I lived near you, I couldn't believe all the record stores, and I was picking up. I went mad on all my early hip hop and like early electro, and some of the early house stuff, and I was just like, fucking hell. And all like, a rare record would be like $2, and I'd be like, yes.
But I remember, when we were back home, that song Killer Joe, Benny Goldsmith used to come on, and only a few people had it, and I found 3 copies. So I gave one to Paul, one to me, and one to Trevor.
Yeah, amazing.
And they were white labels, and you could come across all this stuff.
Well, again, I remember finding like quite rare funk records, albums sealed, $6, 1973, and I was just like, oh my god, in London this is like 30 quid record. You know what I mean? I'm talking end of the 80s. It was 30.
Yeah. I mean, or priceless.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't sell it.
Yeah, exactly.
And. They were gold dust.
Do you remember the names of the record stores, or maybe you weren't that focused on what they were, or like?
No, I don't.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't. To be honest with you,
yeah,
Paul was more of the. He was seeing Judy Weinstein and before the record, and he was really into the whole music business thing. I was just into going out and partying.
Yeah.
You know?
You were out every night, Ian. You were out every night, mate. Yeah.
And I would turn up at a designated place where certain people and they were all Columbia University students living in lofts.
Yeah.
And I'd turn up at a friend of mine, Stuart's place, and he'd always have something. He'd either have a little bit of coke, or he'd have a little bit of opium that he'd put on a pin and you'd smoke it with a glass, you know.
Yeah.
And then off we'd go. And we'd go to a place and the crowd we would just join a crowd and watch whatever it was that was going on in this totally illegal little building. They had a licensed bar, maybe they didn't. They had watchmen, and they just put on these makeshift pop-up events. And so you go from there to the next, and then the crowd would go you never knew where you were going. And you'd keep going from one place to the next.
Was this mostly downtown, or was it all
This was all in Soho.
Yeah.
This was, Soho was empty. Now it's full of really tasty apartments.
Yeah.
But this was the old packing and meat district, and it was empty. There was nothing going on there.
Well, no. I remember going to pop-up clubs in the Lower East Side and all that, and that was again end of the 80s, and that was the same thing. It was all run down. These spaces.
Yeah. They didn't get built up until the 90s.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like Covent Garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. I always put it two together. Holborn, Covent Garden was the same. The old markets. And then we had clubs like the Blitz and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
then it became really popular and really expensive, and because it was right in the centre. Well, the same happened in Soho.
Yeah.
Same sort of vibe. But even though we'd start off at around midnight, we'd always end up, the last place we'd end up, everybody would meet up again, even if you lost people, at the Mud Club. And the Mud Club would go until 6, 7 in the morning. Sometimes at the weekend it would go later. And so, yeah, there was the upstairs and there was the downstairs. Dancing was downstairs, and upstairs was kind of like a bit of more of a members club. But I didn't seem to have a problem getting in anywhere. I just flashed my badge and open my mouth.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Go on, mate." You know, yeah. He's from London.
Yeah.
They love you. Even when I was at record companies, people would be sitting there waiting to see the promotion guy or the A&R. And as soon as I'd turn up and they'd get from the secretary, they were like, "Oh, he's from London, you know, come on. He's got to come through. It's really important." Because I told them I'd be taking their records back to London.
Well, exactly, yeah.
You know?
I'm sure you played it up to the hilt, Ian. Yeah. Exactly. But
I'd be doing the same in England.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be going to Rush Release and places like that, and picking up records. Well, not Rush Release, that came later, but there was we were bringing the records to New York, you know, and that's how the whole record thing started. That we continued doing that in Ibiza, but anyway, that's what we did. So Monday to Friday, I was pretty much in the Mud Club every night, and then and they became my friends. They were all like, it was indie vibe. It was students, and it was quite hedonistic, yeah. And then you had all the people, the vendors that had shops like Boy. Down there, and all these like weird little shops, very Soho, and little bars and crazy little events that were going on.
Well, when I first went there, I mean, I was again end of the 80s. I was sort of just shocked how just people were just doing drugs openly. When London, you couldn't get away with that. Obviously, people were doing stuff, and I'm talking like the pre-acid house sort of scene, really. But like, people were discreet. Whereas in New York, it was just like fucking hell. People didn't care, or I don't know, the places I was going.
Basically, there was there was no police down there. Yeah. We had watchmen. Yeah. So if police decided to come, there was nothing for them to do really. There wasn't that much drugs down there.
Yeah.
It was just people using. They weren't selling.
No.
There was nothing major down there, to bust. People would all obviously get their things and then head down there for a night out. Saturday night we reserved Saturday night for the Paradise Garage. Yeah. At midnight, Paul and I would head out and just walking into the Paradise Garage for the first time. You know, you step through this door within a door. You know, these big doors that they roll back for the cars to come in. Well, there's always a little door in the middle of that. So you step through, and then there's a painted line on the floor that you walk along through a metal detector and then continue until you get to the first ramp. And then you turn right and there's a ramp. Yeah. And there's these lights like a runway going up. They're just like going...
Well, do you know what? I remember the ramp because I went there at the end of it. And like I remembered that ramp going up the ramp, and the blue lights in the one of the first rooms,
and you couldn't hear anything, just maybe a little hum, you know, couldn't really hear anything, and you had this Richard Long sound system in there, pumping it, and I was surprised that you couldn't hear, even when you got up to the booth at the top, pay your $12 to go in, until you opened that door, you didn't hear much at all. Yeah. But anyway, when you got inside there and straight ahead, there was this theme room. There was 2 toilets, unisex, didn't matter. And this theme room that changed every week. But that's where they had bowls of fruit juices and cold water and different flavours.
There was no alcohol, was there?
No alcohol.
Yeah, exactly.
And there was like 5 o'clock, they'd bring out...
How did they stay up all night then, Ian? Surely that's a lot of energy.
I didn't, you know what, I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
But it was the energy that was there. I can only compare to the energy that was at Spectrum. Yeah. Yeah, when Spectrum started. So the energy was definitely ecstasy. Everybody there was on ecstasy, but I'd never even heard of it. And I still, by the time I left New York in '83, I still hadn't heard of it. So I had no idea. No one was telling me what was going on. But I was just a 15-year-old kid at the end of the day.
I know they used to put acid in the punch sometimes.
Like, maybe. You know. But they had this room where it was just all the soft drinks, and at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, they'd bring out coffee, hot chocolate and tea and cakes. But it was all free. But I must say, most of the night, I didn't hang out down there. There was some beers and stuff, but it was up in Larry's booth. Larry, when you get up to his booth, there was 2 fridges, and generally they were full of drink. So there was always a drink up there, and there was a couple of sofas in the corner, and then there was Larry with his 3 decks and his Yuri mixer that went. It was knobs. It wasn't fade. It wasn't. Yeah. You know, it was knobs, and it run along a runner above. So there was this space, you know, that you could see out, and the runner was there, and the 3 decks or 4 decks were there. Yeah. And the stage was just over there, and some nights, you know, Grace Jones would be on stage and people like that, just, you know, Robbie Ness, D-Train, Jeanette Lady Day, just, you know, people from the time.
It must have been an experience sitting there watching him do his stuff, or...
I was so young, I was the youngest person in there, shouldn't have been in there. No. For me, I was just gobsmacked. It was just like blown away every time I went in there. I was blown away.
But by what though?
By everything. Yeah. Just the information, what was going on. You know, just watching people watching people.
Because it wasn't just the sound, was it? It was controlling the sound, the lights, all sorts of stuff, wasn't it? Or
yeah, you could throw the sound from one corner all the way around. You know, he had a joystick, and. Again, that would fascinate me. Yeah. This amazing sound system. Again, you know, all this information was going into me, and I didn't really know it at the time. You know, I was learning by being there. I was learning.
Did you ever have any dialogue with him? And did you ever chat to him, or
Larry?
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah, because was he focused on what he was doing, or was he partying in there as well, or was he just more like on his mission?
He may have been partying before and after, but Larry never really spoke to anybody apart from his guy who pulled out his records. He was totally focused on his work, and I only went in there when he was playing. So we were all on the sofa in the corner, 2 sofas, and there would be like, you know, all the A&R guys. Yeah. Me and Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, because obviously A&R guys, if they've got a record, and obviously he's gonna play it. Obviously he wouldn't play anything, but like if he did play it, obviously that was a.
I remember hearing D Train, You're the One for Me, for the first time, and basically 12 till 12 hours of music. Larry's playing all night, right? And the whole night was D Train. He was bringing it in and out, in and out, in and out. But it was in there. It was always there the whole night.
When you're sick of it by the end, you're not bloody D Train again, Larry.
It was impregnated in your brain. Well, you were going home humming it.
Well,
you were humming it all week. You weren't sick of it. You wanted to hear it again, on that sound system. And that's one of the beauties of the style. And the way Larry played was very similar to the way Alfredo played much later on. He would play the same tracks, but in a different way. A lot of DJs, I've found, they're constantly on the lookout for a new track. And this is what I'm doing. I've got an amazing set, and I just play the same set, because each track is amazing, in a different way. And so that people get to know the tracks, and they get to dance to them, and they get to sort of anticipate them, and that's what Larry used to do. And he would have his basic set of the same records, and occasionally he'd bring in something new. Have this one special track that he'd drop each week. And that really is the way to DJ, I think, and educate your crowd. Yeah,
I mean, obviously he's playing for 12 hours as well, so it's not like he's doing an hour set and he's got to fit stuff in. You can tease the crowd, you can bring it up and down, you can go all over the shop. I mean, those are the real sets when.
It's
as
funny,
a DJ, yeah.
DJs don't do that anymore. I mean, they all of a sudden. I remember coming back from abroad, and DJ sets are 2 hours. 2 hours standard, the standard time. I think a DJ is just getting into things after 2 hours. I used to play in Goa for 6-7 hours.
Those are the best sets.
I used to play in parties, all night, and we'd split the night, just two DJs.
Yeah.
And it would be like from, midnight, 4 hours each, or you do the whole thing yourself.
Yeah.
That's much more interesting.
I love playing all night. Like you said, that's a proper DJ set.
Yeah, and you build the night. Yeah. Build it, and that's the way it works.
So I don't know if you know this or not, but so at Paradise Garage, was he the only DJ playing, or was there actually a warm-up DJ, or did he just literally play all the time? Because I don't really know that.
There was a warm-up DJ.
Okay.
There was a warm-up DJ, and there was this guy who picked his records.
Yeah. And
sometimes when he had to disappear to do whatever he did, there would be somebody taking care.
Okay.
There was always somebody there to take care.
No, sure. Yeah. But it was mostly him. Obviously, it was mostly him.
No, it was mostly him.
It's his club,
I mean, I remember when I would go to the toilet, I'd put something like Jingo on because it's 14 minutes long. So you choose a track that's gonna.
We've all got a good toilet tracks in as a
exactly.
DJ. Particularly the older we get, you need them tracks. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. So you were there quite a bit, the Paradise Garage, from 80 to 83, or
80 to 83.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. And then I came back to England.
Yeah.
At the end of 80, 81, 82. I think I got back to England. Well, it was before September because I started college in 83. Yeah. So I came back. At the beginning of 83. Yeah.
Wow.
So we were
That must have been a bit of a shock coming back to England after New York, wasn't it?
Well, to be honest with you, New York was imploding on itself. All the students from Columbia and the friends that I knew, they were all getting into hard drugs.
Okay, yeah.
And things were starting to fall apart, especially in that... in that romantic scene, in that mud club scene.
Yeah.
Things were getting really druggy, and
well, that's the thing about them sort of scenes. They're amazing at the start, but after a couple of years, like you have a lot of casualties, and you probably did well to get out when you did at the right time. Yeah.
And also a lot of the other clubs were closing down.
Yeah.
You know, it was just going through a bit of a lull. So when I came back in at the beginning of '83, I was looking forward to getting back to London, to be honest with you. You know, I was looking forward to going home and doing something with myself. And I managed to do a course at the American Bartenders School in Madison Avenue before I left. I got that certificate under my belt so that when I got back to London, I could work in Covent Garden in Rumours or somewhere similar as a cocktail barman. And that's what I did. As soon as I landed, I went down to Rumours with my certificate and I got a job. And
so this was a real certificate this time. It wasn't one you made with like a lecture set and like you did actually do the course, yeah?
Yeah. I also done a mixology course at Columbia University.
Right.
Which was just a piss up basically, but we got a certificate for that as well.
Okay.
Yeah. I've done that with Paul. We done that together. It was good fun.
Yeah.
And just taught us the basics of mixing drinks, but the American Bartenders course was a proper course. Yeah.
Cool.
And I came back, and it's easy once you know, and you can if you've got a kind of photographic memory and you can memorize the ingredients and the techniques, you get to know, you know, mixing drinks, shaking, and all the rest of it. It's quite easy.
Yeah, you just got to do it as well.
But I just saw the whole being a cocktail barman as, you know. But then I was just a regular cocktail barman. And then Tom Cruise came into the scene, started throwing things around. And,
well, I think he ruined it for a lot of people. A lot of people trying to do it, and there's some bottle going in someone's head or something and not quite catching.
He took the fun out of it, you know. He took all my glory.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah. So I became just a boring cocktail barman. Yeah. But that year, when I got back to England, it was quite heavy. I worked, first of all, in Rumours, and then somehow I got sacked. And then I went from bar to bar to club. I worked in dispense bar at places, all membership clubs like Annabelle, Tramp, Morton's. I was working for.
There must have been some quite weird clientele in them sort of places.
Very rich.
Well, because they're all the sort of like, I don't know, the minor royals going there or like all that sort of shit.
But I never saw them. I worked at the back. I was in a dispense bar. Okay. The waitresses would come to me and order. I wasn't front of house.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I worked for this company, this guy, and he'd get me jobs working around at different places. And, I wasn't at the front in the main bar.
All right.
Yeah, I was at the dispense bar.
Okay.
And then...
Keep you out the back, yeah.
Yeah, it was funny, you know.
No, exactly. Just earning some cash.
But it kept me out of trouble, to be honest with you. Socialising is gets me into trouble.
Yeah, well, you know, it's probably been good and bad for you in your life, shall we say, the socialising. Mostly good.
I'm easily led.
Yeah.
I'm easily led.
Okay.
And I end up in the Hard Rock Cafe, being like there's two of us. So I was one of the bar managers. Not bar manager, sorry, head barman. There was two of us. So when I was on, the other guy was off. When I was off, he was on. And I managed to keep that job for quite a while. And then the whole coke thing came around and kind of messed things up. And because after work, when you work unsociable hours in London, work in bars, there's a whole another network for. There are people that have special licenses, even though everything shuts at 11 or 10:30 back in the day, or clubs finish at 2. There were special licenses given to certain people for people that worked unsociable hours.
Yeah.
Right. So, people that worked in the clubs would have memberships to go to special bars. And these bars were kind of, I don't know. they were drinking dens. You know, you'd get prostitutes in there, you'd get like gangsters in there, you'd get just people that wanted to keep drinking.
You get all sorts, really.
You get all sorts of people.
I mean, them after hours sort of could either be,
Anyway, I got into sniffing coke and, you know, staying up. How else would you? Drinking all night. And that kind of ruined everything for me. And I found myself without a job and moving back to my mum's in Carshalton for a while. Wasn't for very long, but I'd had enough. I was kind of burnt out.
Yeah.
After New York and a year in London, living with my aunt in Fulham and going to work in the West End every night, I was a bit burnt out, and I needed to just I needed to get my youth back. I needed to be normal. You know, I was living a big man's life, and I needed to just be a kid again for a while. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go back to college and hang out with people my own age. So I did that for a while, and I went to Nescott, North East Surrey College of Technology in Ewell, and I studied business. And it wasn't long, you know, it was only a few months before I started meeting everybody and hanging out with all these hippies.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm so well connected, or get connected, I'm the one that's then supplying them with their hash. And, you know, I become the guy, and then that takes over my whole course, and I'm no longer doing the course. I'm now. So
your return to normality was not going too well at that point.
Yeah, because, you know, anyone that's in that kind of world,
I know it's hard.
You don't have to be in the drug business.
No.
If it's in your life, it never goes to time and to plan, and it's always, everyone's always late, and, you know, you end up missing classes. You can't hold down a job or a college course and also do that, you know. And that's the thing that messes up.
Well, I think I told you I taught at Nescott for many a year, teaching the music tech, and you probably would have been my nightmare student. I've had a few students like you over the years.
So I was there in '83.
Yeah.
And I decided to go back to Roundshaw and become a youth worker. I thought I'd do something for the community. So I went to Roundshaw Youth Club because that's where I kind of grew up. And I walk into this youth club, and there's this burnt out car in the car park. And all the kids are sitting around it, and they're all about 13, 12, 13. And I'm thinking, I wasn't sitting around smoking when I was 12, 13. I was doing stuff. So I went in and spoke to the guy. I said, look, you know, I'm happy to just volunteer. I'm at college. I've got a connection with this estate. Maybe I can help the kids. So the next week I turn up and I bring some Rocksteady Crew videos, Malcolm McLaren and stuff.
Yeah.
And I show them to the kids. And then the following week I bring shell suits, their sizes. I go out and I buy them myself. Patrick shell suits and lino. And I get these kids on, and they just take to it like, you know, they just take to it like fire. They're on fire. They become, we call them Breaking Point in the end. They were their own little breakdancing group, and they were all from Roundshaw. And they were so good that I used to take them on little tours and perform all around to clubs all around the country. And at the time I didn't really think about it, because these kids, you know, they were just out till no one was looking for them. They were just at the youth club smoking cigarettes, and they seemed like their parents weren't that bothered about them.
Yeah.
So it didn't even dawn on me that I had to get permission, you know, from their parents to actually allow them to get in a car with me. But that is the law. And I got away with this for months and months and months. And I ended up going down to the local council and speaking to the people who now run the local town halls, because as I said, I used to go to Carshalton, and that got shut down because of all the violence. But the guy said, look, I can give you Wallington Public Hall. So I said, I'll take it. And I opened up a club called For Kids. It was a membership-based club. I actually went round to all the schools. I wrote to the headmasters. I told them I'd be coming up, and we wanted to do it a membership. It had to be that way for me to get the £1 million liability indemnity insurance to be able to do the whole thing, and everybody would be satisfied. So I went up to all the schools, each one day at a time, and I enrolled these kids who wanted to be part of the club, and we got more than enough members, and we opened the club, Candy Box, and it was on a Friday night, and it was all like wild style graffiti, black and pink, and I'd met a guy called Giles at college, Giles Peterson. I don't think he'd ever played, but he wanted to be a DJ. And there was my friend, Paul Oakenfold, who was a chef again, very unknown. So I asked them both to come and play. So the Candy Box was in 1983 at Wallington Public Hall with two unknown DJs, Giles Peterson and Paul Oakenfold. And both of them are huge successes now.
I was going to say, that's good line-up for 1983, down in Wallerton.
I think a lot of kids that actually went don't even know that.
Yeah.
They don't even know that.
So what were they playing, like hip-hop stuff? Or was it
playing hip-hop and electro.
Yeah, amazing.
You remember those albums, those electro
No, I've got them all, yeah, exactly,
Street Sounds.
No, exactly.
And Divine.
Yeah.
And Divine Madness was actually the tune that they done their dance to, their choreographed dance. So it was all that electro, and kids would come from Streatham to, we're all over, and to battle on the lino. And again, eventually, the same thing happened with the girls. The boys come in from different places, chatting up the girls, and fighting started, and I had to get security. And eventually, I just walked away from it because some idiot had decided to smash the windows in my mum's car, which I was using, and that was kind of like the end.
Okay,
so I'd done it for about a year.
Yeah.
And somebody else apparently took it over. I was just talking to Andy Nichols the other day, who was one of the dancers. Steve Facey, John Carpenter, Palmer, Fadbone. These are all the kids that are now all still doing music.
Yeah.
DJs or clubs in their own right. Radio DJs or club DJs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically after the whole Roundshaw and Wallington Public Hall, Roundshaw Youth Club, I got the opportunity. Trevor said to me, would you like to come to Ibiza? So I said, sure, why not? And, we were going out there for a holiday. It turned into something a lot more.